Session 3 and 4 taught by Dr. Reams in Black in 1977. This is tape 29 side B.
Get out of it, then try to stay as healthy as you can. Yes?
In your opinion, is manganese one which is deficient, which contributes to cataract?
Only,
I'll repeat the question, sir.
is manganese one of the minerals that contributes to cataracts? Only in a fetus or an unborn child, yes. Yes.
Is there a specific mineral which does contribute to?
Not one specific one, is a group of them. Actually, what is a cataract? Now, come on, you're talking about it, but let me ask you, what is a cataract?
By any chance arthritis of the...
No.
Yeah, but he's speaking of it.
No. What is a cataract? I mean, if you take out the cataract itself and you analyze it and test you, what would you find it? What? It's got some protein in it, but what? It's a cholesterol. It's a cholesterol. It's actually what it is. It's actually a cholesterol. I have never seen a cataract on a person with a low cholesterol. The body is retaining too much salt. And that fatty tissue gets in there. What they do is, through this small beam, they take this fat out, or burn it out, just a little bit at a time without damaging the main eye. And I have seen it come out in little strips, little teeny pieces by little tweezers. You medical doctors, you've seen the same thing. It's actually a form of cholesterol that covers over the eye there. There could be a triglyceride, yes. Some of the cholesterols are triglycerides, yes. I know they contain it, yes. There are a lot. Now, you'll notice, too, and if you have studied cataracts very much, you'll notice some of them are almost white. Some of them are green. Some of them are almost white. Some are almost a beige color. Some of them have a reddish color. So there's a variation of it. But the white one is the one that goes the most rapid. The other one goes very slowly. And I have seen people take algavim plus getting their body chemistry in top shape. And in about 5 to 6 months on that, taking it regularly, the cataract disappears. And I have seen people totally blind that had to be led everywhere. I mean, totally blind by it. I have seen them completely disappear in a year. So there's a great amount of things that can be done. I've enjoyed being here with you this class. I hope you can remember 100% of everything you've heard. I hope you can learn to use it for the glory of God. I hope that whenever you need it, you'll have no problem of recall. I hope you'll also study your notes until it's as natural as going to sleep at night. Yes. You'll have to ask Fern. I don't know. Yes. Yes.
Dr. Reams, I've had problems when they're trying to reconcile that a dead cell is cancer because I've seen it growing.
Actually, many times, he said, Dr. Baldwin says that he's had a problem of something that cancer is a dead cell because he's seen it growing. On a banana, it has a black spot. It's maturing. Now that black spot on that banana is a banana cancer. Now, is that cancer growing, or is it the banana maturing because it lacks a mineral? Now, which is happening?
That is what I don't know, because I've seen it in patients growing into his liver.
Well, it's actually getting larger and larger, but it's not actually growing. The mineral deficiency is increasing where the body cannot take it, and more post-mortem is setting in. In other words, it's premature aging. It's not, and many times you'll find various funguses, various bacteria within these decayed areas, and then you blame the bacteria, the fungus, for the cause. They do aggravate it, but they're not the cause, because if that was true, then correcting your mineral deficiency would not cause the problem to go away. In other words, cancer is not an animal that's waiting to jump up on you. It's a decaying of the flesh, a premature aging because of a lack of a mineral or minerals. So this is the way that we can pinpoint a little later in the system where the loss of energy is because of the lack of the mineral in the organ. And this is what we're coming up to. In this class you learned and were introduced to logarithms so you can deal with large numbers which will make up the energy of your body, and you will also learn how to see the patient in the numbers, what he looks like, the inward body chemistry, the effect it has on his outer appearance. Yes?
When the nerve prompts the stool, if there's mineral deficiency and the plating doesn't occur, the cancer at that point, the mineral deficiency looks like cancer.
What's a dead cell? Yes. Yes, a dying cell is a carcinoma cell, but some people many doctors call a dying cell a dead cell, carcinoma. It doesn't make sense to me to remove, let's say, a left ovary because it has cancer, and then do not do anything to replace the mineral to keep the other one from becoming infected. In other words, why not try to replace the mineral first, providing that post mortea, I don't know any other word for that, and I've asked a lot of doctors, had set in, now a gangrene, so to speak. If that's set in, then that must be cleaned out. And it's called, in Latin, the word is post mortea, or gangrene. However, gangrene generally has a fungus in it that post mortea may or may not have. So, in other words, it's post-mortem, in other words, setting in death. In other words, the body's starting to die. And this is the area that it starts to die in. For instance, whenever you pick up a tomato and it's got a rotten spot on it, it's maybe because somebody pinched it. And it's bruised it, and therefore the water collects there because the cells has been damaged. To that tomato, that's a little cancer. All cancer is a dead cell, regardless of where you find it or what it's in. Simply a decaying cell, and the cell is decaying because it's lost its energy supply. Now, there is such a thing as coming to full maturity in fruit, because it's not controlled by glands. And whenever the plant is able to reproduce the seed, so it can reproduce the plant, then it's met its climax and served its full purpose, and the fruit is said to be ripe at its full maturity. So these are factors you just have to keep involved that's in plants that are not exactly biologically chain reaction like they are in animals, because animals are controlled by glands and plants are not. Yes?
I guess what I had a question in my own mind is, does the altered cell ever take on a different frequency from what it should have and thereby propagate as a different frequency because it has a lack of minerals?
In plants it does. In other words, you have another species of plants, but I've never known it to happen in a human being. I've never known it to happen in a human being. Now let me ask you something. When you get a cut on your finger, your arm, or an operation, they cut the nerve ends. They cut the nerves. Now, the brain then, when it starts to knit, will put another stole on the end of that nerve. And then it'll put it on that nerve, and then it will regrow another cell. Otherwise, once you had an incision, it would not ever heal, or one cut, or one bruise. It could not heal. But the brain itself will grow another stole on the tip end of that nerve, which will start the process of knitting. It's called knitting pains. Now, when you have patients that are seriously ill with cancer, and they start to get well, one of the complaints that they will have is, I have sharp-shooting lightning pains. It's paining me. And then you say, the pain is very great at times. Well, is it sharp-shooting pains, quick as lightning, or is it a slow nagging pain that hangs on? They say that sharp shooting pains like lightning, that's knitting pains, and that's good kind of pains. But when it gets on and hangs on like a bulldog, is not good. Yes?
You explain the difference then between a fiber of the original tissue, such as the skin.
Well, the scar, simply, if your body heals and leaves a scar, that is, unless the actual stomatas of the cell has been removed so deeply until it cannot be replaced, like taking a leg off, or an arm off, or a thumb or finger off, then it's absolutely dependent upon the brain to reproduce another. Am I answering your question?
I'm wondering if the mineral level has something to do with fiber scar or...
You won't get any scar at all unless the stomata of the nerve has been removed. The stomata, if you could see a nerve branch, it's something like a branch of trees, needles sticking out in that little cell area. And if you cut off the above a certain part, a certain amount, you get what we call one of the little transformer glands that controls the blood in that area, and then you will have a permanent cavity there, but you should be no scar tissue.
The reason I'm asking is I have a scar in my hand here, which I had a deep cut, seemingly gotten softer and decreased in size.
It should go completely away. Scar tissue is not normal. Yes.
Dr. Reams says it is enlarging in an organ. Is due then to making it become larger?
That is one reason, if there's a bacteria or fungus in it. Otherwise, it's just a straight mineral deficiency.
Well, we've always considered that we're spreading out in that.
That is not true. That is not true.
Dr. Reams, we got to change the tape.
Okay. What's the numbering?
Number 30.
Yes. What?
Is cancer hereditary?
No. I do not believe in hereditary diseases. Yes. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
What happens to him?
If he's got an artificial joint, he's got an artificial joint. If it's a metal joint, it's still a metal joint, period. Well, it'll continue deteriorating unless you keep the minerals sufficient there. The deterioration will continue. I've seen a person have a foot taken off because of deterioration of the bone of the foot. And then the next thing, they know it starts deteriorating there, and you have to take it off up to the knee. A little later, they have to take it off above the knee because they have not supplied the phosphate of calcium needed to replace the damage.
But if the body is going to regrow the whole structure in the hip bone.
No, because there again, you have removed possibly the transformer gland for that place there. In other words, if you take a portion of bone out completely, you may join it back together and close it up, and the blood supply can carry it, but it's not advisable to try. However, it's a patch-up, and I have known some people to thrive for many years. Others only survive a few months. One of the things that nature does is draw its mineral from its bone when you're deficient in mineral, the colloidal minerals. Yes?
I might have missed it. It used to be a very coarse sound.
It cannot be formed without vitamin C. Yes.
I would like to know where the transformer glands are and treatment in your system.
You'll find that in the first course about how to use the minerals and what they're for. Eyes.
What do you think causes mineral deficiency?
A mineral deficiency, body retaining too much salt is the cause of glaucoma, and it's the cholesterol that forms in the eye. So these are factors, and we could stay here till the next course answering questions. You need to get a book on acupuncture, my dear, because there's 284 of them in the body, and they're not in the same place in every person. They're a variable. And also, we have 284 taste buds on our tongue, and there's some very strange phenomena about our bodies that I don't understand, but I do know they're out there, yes.
Doctor, are you saying that...
I didn't hear your question.
Are you saying that healing's impossible?
As far as I know, it is, yes. What? Not that I know of. However, it does say one thing. In other words, if you lose, this is my opinion, if you lose a leg or an arm, you've lost a part of your soul. Because the scripture that I have for that, it says that in our bodies made new, we shall be made whole again. We shall be made whole again, denoting that if there's something lost, we shall be made whole again. Now, that's my opinion. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. If he's got an artificial joint, he's got an artificial joint. If it's a metal joint, it's still a metal joint, period. Well, it'll continue deteriorating unless you keep the minerals sufficient there. The deterioration will continue. I've seen a person have a foot taken off because of deterioration of the bone of the foot. And then the next thing, they know it starts deteriorating there, and they have to take it off up to the knee. A little later, they have to take it off above the knee because they have not supplied the phosphate of calcium needed to replace the damage.
But if the body is going to regrow normal structure in the hip body.
No, because there again, you have removed possibly the transformer gland for that place there. In other words, if you take a portion of bone out completely, you may join it back together and close it up, and the blood supply can carry it, but it's not advisable to try. However, it's a patch-up, and I have known some people to try for many years. Others only survive a few months. One of the things that nature does is draw its mineral from its bone when you're deficient in mineral, the colloidal minerals. Yes?
I might have missed it.
Poor nutrition. His tongue gets as rough as an alligator's back. Yes?
Sir, how do you explain the mitotic figure?
The rapid kind, the cells are irregular in size, and the slow one, they are about the same size. Yes. And the reason one is said to be malignant, it contains big ones, medium-sized ones, and little ones, because the mineral deficiency is so great until the problem is in the nerve there, and the nerve is dying off, and the message is not going through, and therefore, when the cavity in which these live cells exist, the nerve messages is cut off, what happens? They die in very rapid number, and they're different sizes. In other words, some are young cells, some are medium-sized cells, some are old cells. The small cells that's there are the ones that have not reached maturity because of the lack of mineral.
So the growing cancer is either half-formed or fully formed.
Right. Right. Have you examined, and I don't mean to be putting you on the spot, the actual tissue of a child against the tissue of an adult under electron microscope? Well, then you see what I'm talking about. Or have you actually examined the tissue of a real young, let me just make it rather something simple that you know, of a young trout, say 9 inches long, against one that weighs 10 pounds. Which one would the tissue be the coarsest in? The big one. So the tissues are different sizes. So this is just a parable of what I'm talking about. The older it is, the larger the cell is, until it reaches its frequency, electrical level, and then it stops growing. In other words, it can't grow anymore. Thank you. It's been nice to see you. God bless you, and I hope we meet again.